I was repairing the hydrotiller when the dust rolled in low and thick, smothering the afternoon sun like a dying ember. The ground beneath me cracked as I shifted, the metal frame hot from hours under the sky. I didn't hear her approach, not until I caught a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye. A figure stood at the edge of my fence. Not human. Not trying to pretend. She didn't flinch when I straightened and stared. She stepped forward slowly, her hands raised, palms bare, a Varellan custom for peace. Her clothes were torn but wrapped with purpose, more utility than vanity. Her gray skin shimmered faintly in the heat, but it was the eyes that got me. Pale blue, rimmed with fatigue but unyielding. Behind her stood 3 children. They looked worse. Gaunt. Hollow-cheeked. The youngest couldn't have been more than 5, if they aged like us. "I won't beg," she said, her voice sharp, but dry, like wind over gravel. "But I will work. Your fields. Your roof. Anything. Just," she looked over her shoulder at the kids. "Feed them." I didn't answer. I hadn't seen a Varellan in years. Not since the Purity Council had labeled their kind Category X, no contact. A quiet genocide wrapped in red tape. Anyone found sheltering them was stripped of water rights and publicly exiled. "I didn't come to steal," she added quickly. "We've walked for days. 2 died on the way." I stepped forward, scanning the horizon. No patrols, no drones. "Not yet." "You knew what coming here meant," I said flatly. She nodded. But I knew what staying away would mean, too. The kids said nothing. Their eyes followed me like shadows, one held a tattered blanket, another clutched a smooth, pale stone like it was worth the world. "What's your name?" I asked. "HFY. And them?" She hesitated, then pointed. "Kel, Mora, and the little one, we just call him SEF." I looked at my shed. Then at my nearly harvested fields. Then at her cracked lips. "I can't house you," I said. "I understand. But the shed's empty. Use it for the night. There's a water barrel behind it." She bowed her head, not in submission, but in thanks. As she turned, the youngest stumbled. HFY caught him before he fell. My hand moved before I thought. I pulled a wrapped protein strip from my back pocket and tossed it to her. "For the kid," I said. She caught it, then passed it to SEF. The boy hesitated only a moment before devouring it like it might vanish if he blinked. They settled into the shed. I kept working, but my mind wasn't on repairs. That night, I sat on my porch, shotgun across my lap, listening. Nothing but the occasional cough, and the wind. I knew what I was doing. Knew the rules. But something about the way that little one looked at the food like it was magic, it gnawed at me. I thought of Marin, my sister. 12 when she died. Skin hanging off bone from the famine. I'd held her hand as she stopped breathing, my own stomach empty, promising her she'd be okay. I'd lied. I couldn't do it again. Not even to strangers. The next morning, HFY was already working the edge rows, unasked. She moved like she understood the land, gentle with the shoots, firm with the roots. I watched from a distance, arms folded. "You don't waste motion," I said eventually. "I've planted things before," she replied without looking up. "Before your kind came to our skies." "You blaming us?" She stood and wiped her hands. "I'm standing in your field, digging your soil. I've no room left for blame." I tossed her a crude sun hat. "Keep going, then." The kids stayed in the shade, watching. Quiet, but alert. Midday came hot and fast. I brought them water and a few root loaves. HFY tried to hand it back. I said we'd work for food, she insisted. "You are," I muttered. "Shut up and eat." She paused, then smiled. Barely. Like a desert flower unsure if it should bloom. Later, I went to town for supplies, beans, wire, some fuel. I kept my voice calm, my questions normal. But something in the air had changed. Whispers. Side glances. Mayor Linya stopped me near the grain exchange. "Stranger's been seen near your fields," she said. "Coyotes, maybe. Not the four-legged kind." I shrugged. "You know my land's clean." Her look said she didn't believe me. "Just be careful, Jack," she added. "Trulkin's coming next week." I said nothing. That night, I brought a spare blanket to the shed. SEF was asleep, curled like a question mark. Ishaya stood outside, watching the stars. I handed her the blanket. "They'll take everything from you," she warned softly. "If they find us. Wouldn't be the first time someone tried. You don't even know us." "No," I said. "But I know what it's like to be starving and ignored." She looked at me for a long moment. "I'll never forget this." I nodded and turned away. Behind me, her voice followed, barely a whisper. "You'll be marked for this." Maybe. Probably. But I already was. Long before she knocked on my fence. And the little one was smiling in his sleep. That was enough, for now. The sun was brutal, but Ishaya didn't slow down. For a third straight day, she was out in the field before I even stepped off the porch. She moved with quiet precision, hands slicing through soil and stalk like she belonged to it. My crops had never looked better. "Where'd you learn that technique?" I asked, pointing to the way she was bundling the stalks at the root. "Varellum ground cycles," she said. "Our planet's soil was denser. We had to adapt root weaving for harvest resilience." I didn't pretend to understand it, but I couldn't argue with results. The barley was thicker, the sprouts hardier. Inside the shed, the children were regaining color. Kel, the eldest, started helping stack dry bundles in the barn. Mora sang sometimes, just a soft tune, strange and unearthly. SEF barely spoke, but he watched everything like it was a lesson. I made sure to give them small chores, nothing too heavy. They didn't complain. They just worked. That evening, I called Ishaya to the porch. I handed her a tin of stew. "Sit," I said. "You've earned it." She hesitated, then accepted, holding the bowl like it might disappear. "You ever wonder why the others don't do what you're doing? Work, earn trust?" They tried. Once. She took a bite, swallowed hard. "The ones who came before me, your purity council burned them in their tents." I didn't respond. "You were a soldier," she added. "Weren't you?" I nodded. "War for water rights. A lot of noise. A lot of graves." She looked away. "We had engineers. Healers. Artists. Now we have beggars." Something inside me tightened. I watched the smoke from the cook fire curl into the stars. The next morning, I spotted movement near the edge of the eastern fence. Not animals. A drone. Civilian grade, but illegal out here. I ducked behind the barn, rifle in hand, tracking its path. It hovered for a few seconds, scanned the field, then zipped back west. Trulkin. I knew the bastard's playbook. Fly a drone first. Scout for contamination. Then ride in with questions, and fire. I called Linya. "You weren't followed, were you?" I asked. "No," she said, "a little too fast. Trulkin's drone was over my field this morning." Silence. "Linya. I need to know if they're watching my land." "They're watching everyone's. You just make a bigger shadow." I hung up without answering. Ishaya found me digging out the emergency storage beneath the old grain bin. I'd buried it years ago, an old rebel supply crate, sealed and camoed. Inside, under layers of dust, lay two things that still mattered, a solar-charged med kit and a sealed ration canister labeled Pre-Ban Varellin Bioaid. "Something wrong?" she asked. "Not yet. But if SEF gets sick, this is the only thing that'll help." She froze. "How did you get that?" "Friend died in the purge. He left me his guilt." I shut the bin. She didn't speak for a while. You're risking everything. I've got a long history of bad investments. 2 days later, SEF collapsed in the middle of the field. I carried him inside. Burning up. Breathing shallow. Ishaya looked at me, panic in her voice for the first time. It's the strain, nutrient collapse. We had it back home. If we don't treat him. I've got something. I ran to the bin, snapped open the kit, and applied the serum patch to his neck. His skin glowed faintly, then dulled. Within minutes, his breathing slowed. I turned to find Ishaya staring, stunned. He'll live, I said. She lowered her head. You shouldn't have done that. I didn't do it for you. The following morning, I found Trulkin in my front yard. Clean uniform, smug grin. His men stood behind him like wolves waiting for the signal. Morning, Jack, he said casually. Heard good things about your harvest. Mind if I look around? Actually, I do. He smiled. You know, law says we're allowed to inspect any homestead for biorisk. I held his gaze. Is this about crops or people? Oh, come now. He took a step forward. We're just trying to keep Earth safe. He walked past me without permission. I didn't stop him. Not yet. He circled the shed, the barn, the outer fields. Found nothing. I'd moved the kids at dawn, hidden in a root cellar behind the irrigation wall. Trulkin turned back to me. Clean operation, Heron. Just the way we like it. Then he leaned in close. His voice dropped to a whisper. But your eyes, Jack, they're lying. He left without another word. That night, I met with Linya. He's coming back, I said. I figured. He suspects. He just doesn't have proof yet. Linya stared into her mug. You're not the only one who's helped someone, Jack. But if he comes down hard, we all burn. They're just children. She sighed. And we're just farmers. But they'll call it treason anyway. I stood to leave. Jack. She looked up. You sure this is worth it? I'm sure I couldn't live with myself if I let them die. Back at the farm, Maura met me at the door. Seth's awake, she whispered. Inside, the boy sat propped on a hay mat, eyes heavy but open. He smiled when he saw me. I knelt beside him. You're tough. Strong, like Earthman, he mumbled. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Ishaya placed a hand on my shoulder. You saved him. Don't thank me yet. Her eyes narrowed. They'll come, won't they? Sooner than we'd like. She looked toward the door, toward the open sky. I have one more gift to give, she said. Something our people swore we'd never share. I raised an eyebrow. She smiled faintly. Let's see how well your earth soil likes our seeds. And in her hand, she held a crystal pod that shimmered like starlight trapped in glass. Trulkin came back at dawn. No drone this time. Just boots, rifles, and the full weight of earth purity law behind him. 6 men. 2 armored rovers. 1 flag bearing the black crescent of the council. I was already waiting on the porch, shotgun across my knees, coffee cooling beside me. You knew this day would come, Trulkin said as he stepped out. Been counting on it, I replied. His eyes swept the field. The barley shone gold, almost ready. In the back rows, where Ishaya's alien seed had taken root, new stalks pulsed faintly blue. A hybrid. Alive. Strong. He noticed. What the hell is that? Food, I said simply. You're cultivating alien growth material? I stood. I'm cultivating survival. You want to outlaw that too? He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You're not going to posture your way out of this. We saw the drone footage. The woman. The kids. You've broken every line in the book. Then write me up, I said, tossing my mug to the ground. But you're not taking them. He waved a hand. 2 soldiers broke formation and started toward the irrigation wall. I didn't move. Step aside, Jack, Trelkin warned. I didn't. His men flanked me. I heard the charge cycle of their rifles, military grade. Then came a voice from behind them. You'll have to go through all of us. Linya stood on the road, shotgun in hand. Beside her, half the town. Dozens of farmers, tools in hand, eyes steady. Jack's not the only one who remembers what it's like to be hungry, she said. We saw those children. We heard them laugh. And we're done watching good people punished for doing the right thing. Trelkin blinked. For the first time, he looked unsure. This is obstruction, he snapped. You're aiding alien fugitives. And you're threatening peaceful civilians with state weapons, Linya countered. You fire a single shot here today, and it'll spread. Silence. I took a step forward. You wanted purity, Trelkin. But purity doesn't feed mouths. It doesn't grow crops. It burns fields and buries bodies. He clenched his jaw, looked past me toward the shed. Ishaya and the kids are gone, I lied. Left last night. You won't find them. He didn't believe me, but he didn't call my bluff either. The men around him shifted. One of the younger soldiers looked at the children peeking from behind Linya's legs. His rifle lowered a fraction. Trelkin turned without a word, walked back to his rover, and slammed the door shut. Engines roared. The convoy backed out. The town didn't cheer. No one smiled. We'd won something, but we didn't know what the cost would be yet. Later, I found Ishaya behind the barn, planting the last of her seed pods in a ring. I told them you left, I said. She kept working. I should have. But you didn't. She straightened, brushing soil from her palms. Because my children smile here. They eat. They sleep. I would rather die in this soil than run another mile with them on my back. I nodded. She looked up at me. You understand now, don't you? Why we crossed the stars. Why we begged. I didn't answer. I just watched the stalks behind her sway, half human, half Varellan, glowing faintly in the wind. We rebuilt the shed into a proper shelter. The kids helped lay the bricks. SEF drew suns and animals on the walls and charcoal. Mora sang while she worked. The hybrid crops began sprouting faster than anything I'd seen. No one questioned their origin anymore. People just called them sky wheat and asked for seeds. One morning, I found a note folded in the mailbox. No signature. This time, the council backed down. Next time, they'll bring orders. I burned it without comment. A week passed. Then 2. Trelkin didn't return. But Ishaya knew better. They're regrouping, she said. Not defeated. Just embarrassed. They should be. She chuckled once. They won't be next time. We held a harvest feast under the stars. Tables lined the dirt road. Food, more than we'd seen in years, piled high. Roasted root fowl, spiced grains, hybrid loaves glowing faintly from the alien seeds. No speeches. No banners. Just people eating together. Ishaya sat across from me, laughing with Linya about earth tools. SEF slept in a basket beside the fire. Linya raised her glass. To choices, she said. Hard ones. And the fools who make them anyway. Everyone drank. I sat back and watched the flames dance. Later, as the fire died and the people drifted away, Ishaya stayed beside me. You've changed, she said. I nodded. So have you. She took something from her pocket. A small, transparent shard, the last of her seed crystal. I saved one, she said. Not for the fields. For you. I took it carefully. Why me? Because you didn't ask what I was. You asked what I needed. I turned it in the firelight. It shimmered with faint blue-green light, like a frozen sunrise. "Plant it when you're ready," she whispered. "Not for food. For memory." That night, as I stood alone at the edge of my field, the wind carried a soft sound, something between song and silence. The crops swayed in time. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was just surviving. I felt like we were starting something. Something better. Something human. I woke to static humming through the ground. Not noise, vibration. Rhythmic, pulsing. A low thump that didn't belong to wind or tractor. I stepped onto the porch barefoot. The horizon flickered. 3 dark shapes hovered beyond the western hills. Not rovers. Not council drones either. Something heavier. Unmarked, boxy ships that didn't hum, they growled. I ran to the barn. HFY. She was already awake, standing by the back window, watching. Her face told me everything. She recognized the make. She'd seen them before. "Evacuation ships," she said grimly. "But they're not here to evacuate." I pulled my rifle off the hook. "You think Trulkin sold our coordinates?" "No," she said. "This is bigger." He lost his grip. "Now someone worse is coming to clean up the mess." Linya was waiting at the community well, hair tied back, sidearm holstered. "I counted 4 drop pods," she said without greeting. "Not marked. No council flag." "They didn't come for inspection," I said. She nodded. "They came to make an example." Behind her, families were packing quickly but silently. We'd prepared for this. Stashed emergency routes. Built underground hollows. But it was never supposed to be needed. "They'll ask for the Varellans first," she said. "You planning to give them up?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She looked at me, tired, resigned, but ready. Then we hold. By mid-morning, the ships landed in a line like teeth driven into the earth. A single figure emerged. Tall, pale, wrapped in synthetic robes that shimmered with heat distortions. Not council. Not military. Private. Corporate, maybe. Worse. He walked up the road with the pace of someone who didn't expect resistance. Behind him marched soldiers in plated armor, faces masked, no insignia. Enforcers. The kind that answered to profit, not law. He stopped outside the front gate. No words. Just waited. I walked out. "This is Harvinstead," I said. He tilted his head. "I know. You're Jack Heron. You've been feeding and harboring extraterrestrials against international directives." "We're feeding children," I said. "That's not a crime." "Not here." "It is now," he replied. "You were warned. You chose rebellion." He lifted a small datapad and swiped. A hollow flickered on, a live video of the inside of my barn. SEF, sleeping. Mora brushing hay from his face. They had eyes on us. I kept my face still. "What do you want?" He pointed toward the field. "The hybrids. The Varellans. And the seed pod she gave you." I raised my voice. "You want to erase everything they brought?" "No," he said calmly. "We want to own it." The standoff broke fast. Linya stepped forward, shotgun drawn. "You're not taking anyone." The man didn't blink. "You'll resist?" Linya aimed at his chest. "This land's not yours." Behind her, 50 people took up arms. He gave a slight nod. The soldiers opened fire. It was chaos. Dirt exploded. People screamed. But we weren't unarmed. For every pulse round fired, a hunting rifle answered. I dragged HFY and the kids into the east ditch. Kel clutched Mora, shielding her with his body. HFY crouched low, shielding SEF. "We can't stay here," she said, voice sharp. "They'll circle." "I have a route behind the grain line," I said. "Go now." I won't leave you. I looked her dead in the eyes. You already gave us your miracle. Let me buy its future. She kissed my hand once. Then ran. I climbed onto the barn roof. Visibility was garbage through the smoke, but I saw Linya still firing, even as her leg buckled. I shouted, pull back. Fall to the lower trenches. Then the man appeared again, untouched, flanked by 2 enforcers. You think this matters? He called up to me. 1 farm. 1 alien seed. You think this changes anything? I raised my rifle, took the shot. It clipped his shoulder. He staggered, but didn't fall. You could have been bought, he spat. But you chose fire. I chose mercy, I said. And now you'll reap the cost. They pushed forward. We were losing ground. But then, a rumble deep underfoot. The hybrid crops behind the barn flared blue. Every stalk lit up like lightning had kissed the dirt. Then came the sound, a frequency that split the air, warping it, bending it. The alien seed. HFY had triggered something. The enforcers dropped their weapons, covering their ears. The man screamed. His datapad shattered in his hand. And from the field, energy rippled outward like a pulse. Not a weapon, something older, stranger. The hybrid wheat didn't burn. It sang. And everything it touched refused to die. When I woke, it was dark. My ears rang. My hands were burned. But the field stood untouched. The ships? Gone. The man? Nowhere. Bodies lay scattered, but most of ours had survived. And something strange had happened to the crops, they were taller. Thicker. The glow was gone. But the strength had remained. Linya limped up beside me. What happened? I pointed. The seed remembered. Days passed. No one came. No more ships. No patrols. Silence. But something had changed. Across the continent, rumors spread. About a farm where alien seed bloomed and soldiers ran. About a village that defied extinction. And survived. People started arriving. Not refugees, builders. Biologists. Engineers. They came with questions. With hope. And HFY? She stayed. We planted more than food, she said one night. We planted a future. I nodded, watching Mora and SEF sleep in the new farmhouse. What do we call it? I asked. She smiled. Call it what it is. And on the new gate, we carved the name. Havenstead. No longer a hiding place. But a beginning. Tools.